Death, Transition, and the End of Fear by Jason Gray, December 17th, 2025, 6025, Anno Lucis, in the Year of Light. Resonance Architecture Transition, .01, End of Life and Continuity Interface. Fear of death was the overlay's master lever. Every civilization built on control ultimately relied on one pressure point: fear of non-existence. When humans believed death meant annihilation, loss, or punishment, they became governable. Fear justified obedience. Anxiety fueled consumption. Uncertainty enabled authority. Time scarcity enforced compliance. Mortality panic fragmented presence. The overlay did not invent death. It weaponized uncertainty about it. Death was never the enemy. In the returned world, death is understood not as failure, but as transition. Biological systems complete cycles. Conscious systems reorganize. Death marks the end of a form, not the erasure of meaning. When this is understood at a nervous system level, fear collapses. Why fear disappears after the return. Fear of death dissolves when three conditions are met. Life is coherent. Nothing essential is suppressed. Presence is full. No part of the self is abandoned. Continuity is felt. Meaning is not bound to duration. People who live aligned lives do not fear endings. They recognize them. Death as a social event, not a medical emergency. In the returned world, death is no longer hidden behind machines, euphemisms, or sterile corridors. It is witnessed, honored, supported, unhurried, and relational. The dying are not isolated. They are accompanied. This restores dignity to the transition and removes panic from those who remain. What actually happens at the moment of transition? At the threshold of death, sensory noise fades, emotional residue surfaces briefly, unresolved threads seek closure, identity softens, and fear either tightens or releases. In a coherent life, release is natural. The body stops fighting, the mind quiets, the field reorganizes, death becomes gentle. The role of the living. Those present during transition serve a critical function. They stabilize the emotional field. They mirror safety. They allow release without resistance. They prevent unfinished fear from imprinting. This is why death no longer traumatizes communities. It becomes integrated memory, not rupture. Children and death after the return. Children are not shielded from death. They are taught to understand it. This creates resilience without hardness, reverence without fear, curiosity without morbidity, and grief without panic. Children grow up knowing that life is precious because it changes, not because it must be clung to. The end of afterlife control. In the returned world releases humanity from reward and punishment cosmologies. No heaven sold, no hell threatened, no salvation outsourced. Meaning returns to this life. Continuity is sensed, not promised. This alone dismantles millennia of spiritual coercion. Grief after the end of fear. Grief does not disappear. It changes quality. Grief becomes softer, clearer, less panicked, less distorted by guilt, and less tangled with terror. People mourn absence, not annihilation. This allows grief to complete its cycle. The final transformation. When fear of death dissolves, time pressure collapses. Urgency becomes discernment. Manipulation loses leverage. Presence deepens. Love stabilizes, and courage becomes default. Human beings stop living against time and start living within it. Death only terrifies those who were never allowed to fully live. The returned world does not defeat death. It ends the lie that death must be feared. When that lie collapses, the final chain of the overlay breaks. Life becomes enough. Presence becomes complete, and the human being at last stands unafraid at both the beginning and the end. Jason Gray. Death is transition. We do not disappear when we die. Our energy transitions. I know this to be true as I experienced after-death communication from my deceased brother. I know his energy continued on after his body died. He proved it to me in an undeniable way, and I am so thankful for that experience because it has removed any remaining fear of death that I may have held.